Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
High winds and low humidity are creating a fire danger that are leaving some San Diegans in the dark. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jade Hindman in for Maya Trabolsi. The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning because of the strong Santa Ana winds. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has more on the fire danger and how long the warning will last.
It's been foggy and hazy in San Diego the last couple of days because of a high-pressure system over the region, but that will change within the next 24 hours.
We have a major Santa Ana wind event coming into Southern California today.
National Weather Service meteorologist Adam Rosa says to expect winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour, with gusts up to 60 to 65 miles per hour.
We're really going to see kind of a lot of easterly winds with this system. That's where they're going to be strongest throughout Southern California. So the San Diego County through the mountains and the foothills is going to be the highest winds.
The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning until 4 a.m. Wednesday. That means it's critical fire danger conditions.
So it's very dangerous condition right now.
CAL FIRE Captain Mike Cornett says we haven't had a lot of rain this year, making the vegetation very dry and primed for a fire.
The relative humidity in the atmosphere is very low, in single digits in some parts of the county, creating a time of critical fire danger.
The National Weather Service says the highest winds would be overnight in the mountains and foothills, but CAL FIRE says that doesn't reduce the fire danger.
We're not going to get any of the nighttime recovery with humidity overnight. It's going to be dry, windy conditions. Even though it's not hot out, the fire danger is still there.
The high winds could also cause downed power lines. SDG&E has issued a public safety power shutoffs notice saying customers should prepare for a possible outage and never approach a downed line. Cornett says the wind could also make driving conditions difficult.
Any high-profile vehicles going up and over the passes, you might want to try to plan your route to avoid the wind if possible and take necessary precautions.
He says residents should also install the Genesis Protect app to be alerted of any evacuation orders and warnings. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
And at this hour, SDG&E has shut off power to more than 12,000 customers at this time. You can see these locations on the red, on that map right there. Several other communities and more than 105,000 additional customers could potentially be impacted by public safety power shutoffs. Also, SDG&E says it's utilizing over 100 cameras to monitor potential wildfires. Many of them are high-definition UCSD cameras, and all of them are retrofitted with AI. They say AI learns from past data, then uses it to send out alerts.
We have used every historical Santa Ana over the last 15 years to train AI to help guide us which communities are going to see the highest winds. This is actually the highest fire potential we have seen in San Diego County in 6 years. We have to go back to the peak of our fire season in 2018, the last time we saw an event that scored this high.
SDG&E says there is also a network of over 200 weather stations monitoring conditions in high-risk areas.
Well, it's going to be a little chilly tonight, cooling down to 44 degrees. And there you have it, clear and chilly. So if you have to head out, you're definitely going to want the jacket. We do have some changes on the way over the next couple of days. I'll break those down for you coming up.
New leadership is coming to San Diego's City Council with a big decision coming tomorrow. The council is scheduled to elect a new president for the year ahead. Current President Sean Elo Rivera told Voice of San Diego that he will not seek the post again. He's led the council for the past 3 years. Council members will make their choice during Tuesday afternoon session starting at 2 p.m. Okay, so what happens when you give money to a political campaign and then decide you want the money back? Well, KPBS investigative reporter Scott Rod found it is not as easy as you might think.
San Diego resident Yvonne Elkin has been politically active most of her life.
I mean, even back when I was young, we had, in the 60s, we did a lot of advocating for civil rights and voting rights.
And in her retirement, she's invested a lot more time in her advocacy work.
I'll knock doors and make phone calls and stuff like that, but it's because the candidate aligns with what I want to see happen.
That's why Elkin supported Nathan Fletcher's campaign for state senate early last year. Fletcher, at the time, was on the County Board of Supervisors and was considered a rising figure in the local Democratic Party.
I was pretty impressed with him right out of the gate, when I met him then, his values and what he spoke for.
Elkin contributed $100 to Fletcher's campaign and planned to chip in more over time. But then Fletcher dropped out of the race last March. He initially said it was for treatment of PTSD and alcohol abuse. Elkin fully supported Fletcher's decision to focus on self-care. But then, a few days later, a former employee at the San Diego Metropolitan Transit System accused Fletcher of sexual assault in a lawsuit.
When that occurred, then that was a different story. Then you crossed a line, you've been, unfaithful to your family, you've broken our trust.
Fletcher has denied the allegations and claims the affair was consensual. As KPBS reported earlier this year, Fletcher has spent more than $500,000 in leftover campaign contributions to defend himself in court. The California Fair Political Practices Commission has since launched an investigation into Fletcher's use of campaign money for his legal defense. The campaign has argued that the spending is allowed. Elkin decided last year that she wanted her $100 back.
I gave you money to run for Senate. Now you're not running for Senate, so I want to choose how my money is spent.
But it's not so simple. Contributors to political campaigns can ask for their donations back, but in most cases under state law, candidates don't have to return the money. In Elkin's case, it took 4 months and repeated requests. She started with an email to Fletcher's campaign, which read,
"Given that he will no longer be running for that seat, and that he has dishonored his supporters through his actions, I politely request a refund of my donation."
After more than a month, she sent another email.
"And your actions have destroyed our trust in your ability to make good decisions. Please refund my $100 at the earliest possible time."
And then another.
"I have stated my reasoning previously and do not intend to let this go. Please save us a lot of time and additional heartache by just refunding my contribution now."
In her fourth and final email, Elkin threatened to go to the media and the county Democratic Party with her grievances.
"There are other candidates running for office this cycle that need and deserve that $100, and it should be my choice as to which of them receives the donation."
That got the Fletcher camp's attention. The next day, the campaign dropped Elkin's refund check in the mail. Fletcher's campaign did not respond to a request for comment. It's unclear if Fletcher declined refund requests from other small-dollar donors, but campaign finance reports do show that Fletcher returned tens of thousands of dollars to influential people and organizations who asked for a refund. It appears they had a much easier time.
We'd actually never done a refund before, and it was, I think, my first time doing that for a candidate.
Jason Pagiao is CEO of the Asian Business Association of San Diego. The group's political action committee contributed about $5,000 to Fletcher's campaign.
Well, we contacted the campaign's treasurer, and they were very quick to get back.
About a month later, they got their refund. Pagiao says the political action committee reinvested the money. California election law gives candidates a lot of discretion when it comes to refunding campaign contributions. But when they drop out of a race, should they keep the money? John Pellicero says no, they shouldn't. He's the director of government ethics at the Markkula Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University.
And when they drop out of a race, they really have to have more of a ethical awareness that they have an obligation to go back to their donors and ask if they'd like to have their money refunded.
Pellicero says in a situation like Fletcher's, there's an even clearer obligation.
And if you keep the funds just for legal purposes, for your own personal behavior, that's inappropriate and really unethical.
The California Fair Political Practices Commission declined to comment on its investigation into Fletcher. It could take months for the commission to reach a decision. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
And that story by Scott Rodd is an example of the work done by our investigative team. More stories are available at KPBS's YouTube page. You can also get regular updates by email. Just sign up for our newsletters at kpbs.org. Before the election, President-elect Donald Trump's campaign said they welcome the demise of the conservative policy agenda, Project 2025. But KPBS's Amitha Sharma reports that Trump's choice for top posts may mean the plan, with its proposed cuts to services for the elderly, the poor, and children, is still in play.
Trump's representatives could not have been clearer this summer about Project 2025. They said the plan had nothing to do with the campaign, did not speak for the campaign, and should not be associated with the campaign or Trump in any way. A day after Trump won the election, San Diego County Republican Party Chairman Corey Gustafson reiterated that point.
I believe that there has been many occasions where President Trump was asked if he's a part of Project 2025, and he has said no.
But since then, Trump has selected contributors to Project 2025 for White House jobs. Russell Vought to direct the Office of Management and Budget, Tom Homan to be border czar, and Brendan Card to serve as chairman of the Federal Communications Commission. Project 2025 includes funding cuts to Medicaid and Medicare, assistance to senior citizens, and programs that feed children. It would also dismantle the Department of Education, would restrict women's reproductive rights, and give the president more power over prosecutions. Conservative writer Bill Kristol has little doubt Project 2025 will be implemented and says the new administration has free right to do so.
But they don't have the right to do it out of the daylight. They don't have a right to go around Congress. They're talking about impounding funds that Congress has appropriated and so forth. So it's one thing to have an aggressive agenda. Biden had a pretty big agenda in some ways. Obviously, other presidents have, Obama, Reagan. It's another thing to really try to undermine the functioning and the institutions of government.
Meanwhile, Trump has also announced plans to create a Department of Government Efficiency, a step widely seen as a Project 2025 goal to rid the federal government of a deep state. Amitha Sharma, KPBS News.
The family of a man who died while in San Diego County Jail is demanding answers from the county sheriff's department. KPBS reporter John Carroll says their son died back in March, and they say since then they have not been told a thing.
The scene in front of the San Diego County Sheriff's Vista substation this morning was heartbreaking.
This handsome man here was killed by the police. I have no answer from them why they killed my son. Everything is in the dark.
Time has stood still for Frederica Nabi and her husband Gibrila Touré since early March of this year. It was on the evening of March 3rd. Deputies were called to a gas station in Cardiff. An initial investigation being conducted by San Diego police says the deputies found Abdul Aziz Kamara shirtless, without shoes, crawling around on the ground. He was arrested for being under the influence. Police say Kamara was resisting arrest. The investigation says he was put in a restraining device called a wrap. Paramedics were called, but Kamara lost consciousness and stopped breathing. He was pronounced dead a couple of hours later. His mother and stepfather traveled from Virginia to San Diego to get answers.
We are here to seek justice for our son because we left in dark over 9 months.
The family fled the civil war in their home country of Sierra Leone in Africa 15 years ago to come to the United States to safety. It's a decision Abdul's mother now regrets.
I need an answer. I need an answer for this answer, man. I need an answer.
The family's lawyer says she's been asking for answers too, with no reply. She wants to know why, 9 months later, no video or audio has been released of the incident. We reached out to the Sheriff's Department for answers. As of our deadline, no one had responded, but the department did send out a news release today, highlighting what they describe as improvements in county jails. And in-custody deaths are down in 2024. Yusef Miller of the North County Equity and Justice Coalition and Saving Lives in Custody California says 9 people have died so far this year while in custody. Last year, it was 13. Sheriff Kelly Martinez points to new screening processes to keep drugs from being brought into the jails and various improvements made to the jails, including how those who need mental health assistance are treated. But all of that is cold comfort to Abdul's parents and the other family members gathered here. Many say they still don't have answers to questions about their loved ones' deaths while in custody.
This was clearly a mental health issue. This was not a threat.
For now, the investigation continues. Tomorrow, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors will vote on a proposal by Supervisor Monica Montgomery Stepp to strengthen CLERB, the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board, an attempt in part to get answers for the people here, left now with only questions and grief. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Well, investigators have made an arrest in connection to the killing of United Healthcare CEO. A man was detained in Pennsylvania after police got a tip from the public. As Laura Aguirre explains, police found several items on him that appear to be linked to the crime.
Police in Pennsylvania have arrested a man they believe could be connected to the fatal shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Manhattan last week.
Members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges.
This comes just hours after a tip was phoned into police by an Altoona, Pennsylvania McDonald's employee after a patron pointed out the man.
The McDonald's employee did something we ask every American to do. If you see something, say something, but most importantly, do something.
New York's police commissioner says Mangione was carrying several fraudulent IDs and a U.S. passport.
Upon further investigation, officers recovered a firearm on his person, as well as a suppressor, both consistent with the weapon used in the murder.
The gunman was seen on security cameras using a weapon outfitted with a silencer. Police say he checked into this Manhattan hostel 10 days before the killing using a fake New Jersey ID. And it was during a flirtatious moment with a hostel front desk clerk that gave police and the nation the suspect's full face. Investigators are now working to see if firearm ballistics and recovered DNA evidence link to Mangione.
Additionally, officers recovered a handwritten document that speaks to both his motivation and mindset.
NYPD detectives are on their way to Pennsylvania to question Mangione, who they say had no prior arrests in New York. I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, how the Biden administration is viewing the rebels' victory over Bashar al-Assad in Syria. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
It's been a relatively slow start to respiratory virus season, but U.S. health officials fear that trend is about to end as vaccination rates remain low. It's already putting children and some minority groups at an increased risk. Mandy Gaither has a look at where virus levels stand now and why experts say vaccination is a key to protection.
Well, there are a couple of changes to talk about. First of all, the fog and the low clouds that we saw this morning, that is not going to be as much of a problem for tomorrow, but the thing that is going to be more of a problem are the Santa Ana winds. We're going to see that kind of peak tomorrow, and then taking a look at midweek, temperatures are going to drop. So let's dive right into the forecast. First, talking about tonight's temperatures: 35 degrees in Oceanside, 44 for San Diego here, 36 over in Borrego Springs. A little chilly for just about all of us. By tomorrow, we're seeing much more sunshine for just about everybody, but you see some of that wind as well. Temperature-wise, we're at 74 in Oceanside, 73 in San Diego, 46 there in Mount Laguna. And little bit warmer, over 66 in Borrego Springs. Now let's talk about that wind. We do have Santa Ana winds that are going to be a factor through Tuesday. So throughout your day on Tuesday and into the evening and overnight hours, we're going to see 40 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, which of course creates dangerous crosswinds for motorists, but also increased fire danger. And that is why we also have red flag warnings in effect across the area, not really for San Diego and on the coast, but just about everybody else here. So something to keep in mind as you go throughout your Tuesday. Unfortunately, wildfire season is not over, and we do still have to be careful about not accidentally sparking a wildfire, especially with those Santa Ana winds. Now, let's talk about your 5-day outlook on the coast here. There's that temperature drop I mentioned, 74 Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we drop 10 degrees by the time we get to Thursday with that high of 64 degrees. We're seeing some lows in the 30s as well, so prepare for the cooler air. It is on the way. Taking a look inland, 78 for Wednesday, then down to 65 by the time we get to your Thursday. The good news is plenty of sunshine across the board. Some days we're dealing with some clouds, but mostly we are going to see a lot of sunshine here. Taking a look at the mountains, there's that wind. Tuesday and even into Thursday, we're going to be dealing with windy conditions as well. Temperatures staying a little bit more consistent here, bumping up to 51 for Wednesday and then sticking in the 40s for just about every other day. The desert, we're not seeing the cool down here either. We're seeing 66 on Wednesday, up to 70, and then we even out a little bit as we head towards the weekend, 69 and 68 for Friday and Saturday there. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Anna Azalian.
Across the U.S., respiratory virus season is ramping up. Emergency department visits for diagnosed RSV are now moderate for the first time this season, with a main increase in the illness among young children. And preliminary CDC data estimates up to 1.5 million flu cases, up to 22,000 hospitalizations, and up to 2,100 flu deaths between October 1st and November 30th. These viruses, along with COVID-19, are expected to increase.
The present vaccination rate is similar to previous years, but it's still running below what it did prior to COVID.
The CDC says vaccination for flu, COVID-19, and RSV will be key to preventing severe illness. The agency recommends everyone 6 months and older get the flu and updated COVID-19 shots. The one-time RSV vaccine is recommended for adults 75 and older and those between the ages of 60 and 74 at high risk of severe disease. Those pregnant can also protect against RSV with a shot between 27 and 36 weeks of pregnancy, and infants up to 8 months old born during the season can receive 1 dose of monoclonal antibodies.
Right now, RSV is the leading cause of infant hospitalizations in the U.S.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
Well, San Diego transportation officials are narrowing down their options for a new and improved public transit connection to the airport. The planning agency, SANDAG, has been considering 3 modes of connecting the airport: an extension of existing trolley lines, an automated people mover, and a rapid bus line. A people mover could provide the most frequent service, but buses are by far the cheapest option. At a SANDAG board meeting Friday, Encinitas Mayor Tony Krantz noted the rail options would cost billions of dollars, while the bus options would only cost less than $100 million.
I think it's going to be a long time before the resources are available to build $1 billion project that serves so few people. And so I would encourage consideration of extending these bus options and making them work better, making them work more frequently.
SANDAG says it's ready to make interim improvements to airport bus service as soon as fall of 2025. The Holiday Bowl is returning to Mission Valley this year, and now we know which teams are invited. Washington State will play Syracuse on Friday, December 27th at Snapdragon Stadium. Start time is scheduled for 5 p.m. and the game will air on Fox. This will be the first time in the bowl history that Syracuse will be playing, so that's great. great. The latest jobs report in the U.S. shows job growth surged in November, adding 227,000 jobs. The rebound was expected after hurricanes and striking workers heavily distorted October's report. Ivan Rodriguez has insight from an economist on what the numbers mean ahead and heading into the next year.
Looking beyond the pendulum swings of the last few months, the U.S. labor market remains stable but is cooling. It also hasn't shaken off any concerns that there could be a greater weakening in the future. Despite rebounding strongly from an October jobs report heavily impacted by natural disasters and workers on the picket line, Daniel Zhao, lead economist with Glassdoor, says there's evidence the job market is softening.
It's just not quite as hot as it was maybe a year or two ago.
Zhao says one of the big trends he's observed over the last couple of years is the contributions of certain sectors toward job growth.
Healthcare, education, and government are a major driver of jobs growth, and that continued in November, especially as you see a lot of local and state governments try to catch up on some of the hiring that they missed out earlier on in the recovery.
The November unemployment rate also ticked up to 4.2% from 4.1%, marking the first time since 2021 it's been above 4% for 6 consecutive months. Unemployment among Black and Hispanic workers also rose from October, coming in at 6.4% and 5.3% respectively. In many cases, Zhao says employers are trying to get more done with less.
That means they're putting a lot of pressure on managers, on workers to try to get more done, and whether that means return to office, whether that means just raising the bar on some of their targets,
leaving some employees feeling unfulfilled.
A lot of workers feel very hesitant to leave a job in order to try to find something better on the market right now. And unfortunately, that is creating a situation where many workers feel stuck in their careers right now.
Overall, the labor market is entering 2025 on solid footing, but where it goes from here remains a question mark. There are certain factors that could cause it to either rev up, stall out, or even crash, economists say. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Well, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jade Hindman. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you.